In this video, I'm going to tell you about all the things that I've learned over the last 3 years in buying liquidation that you need to know before you go out and buy that next pallet. So without any further ado, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy. And as I mentioned in the intro, this video is going to be about the things that I've learned over the last 3 years when buying liquidation. And by watching this video and taking into account all the things that I'm going to tell you about, you're going to avoid maybe making a costly mistakes that I've made. And hopefully, even if you utilize or just consider one of these things that I'm telling you, it will definitely save you a lot of heartache. Trust me on that one. Before I begin, just want to say thank you to my awesome wife. This is that gift that she bought me for Christmas that she got scammed on and through Etsy and had to go through the whole refund process through them. And then she found another seller who created this cool neon sign that I'll have in a lot of my videos, not every one of them, but I thought it was a cool little thing. So I put it up here and it has little different settings that you can put into play here. But I thought it was a cool little thing to add to the show. Let me know down below your thoughts on that. So liquidation, guys, I got to tell you, there's just so much to the liquidation game that you have to consider before you go out and buy goods. I know a lot of my audience, you guys buy stuff at yard sales, you go to thrift stores, and maybe you haven't dived into the whole liquidation idea. And I know that looking at it from the outside, it can be a bit scary. You hear a lot of things about liquidation, but it's really not a whole lot different than going to a thrift store and to maybe a yard sale. You have to learn what you're looking for. Your first time at that yard sale to buy stuff for eBay, your first time at the thrift store, I'm sure you passed over a lot of things. I'm sure you maybe bought something that didn't sell too good. And these are mistakes that you learned from. And now you have the experience not to do those things again. And it's the same thing with liquidation. You know, your first couple pallets may not be the best. In fact, I've seen people post on this channel that they regret buying a liquidation lot, and it's because they made a mistake. So hopefully, if you take into account these things that I'm going to tell you, it will help you navigate through that, okay? This coming up period, the first 3 or 4 months of the year, is usually the best time to buy liquidation. And just so you know, liquidation generally is, sometimes it's shelf pulls and things that maybe are overstock items, and those are brand new items. Those do happen, but it's a very small percentage of liquidation. Most liquidation happens to be customer returns. So we're talking customer returns from major retailers in most cases. So your Walmarts, your Targets, your Amazons, that's the biggest one. And there's others as well out there. And you just got to know that these items are customer returns. So that means that the customer returned them for some reason. So the first thing that comes to people's mind is that there has to be something wrong. And generally, you're right, there is. But it's all subjective. So for instance, if someone buys a white appliance for their white color scheme in their kitchen, and they get something that's off-white or cream color, they're going to return it because it just doesn't match or match up with what they have in the kitchen. Or they were given it as a gift. So you get a lot of people this time of year who are returning their gifts, and it just doesn't meet their expectation. Maybe they got the wrong size shirt. Maybe, you know, it's just not functional to what they were trying to obtain. Maybe they got a sound bar for Christmas and it just doesn't hook up to their HDMI. Maybe it just doesn't sound right to them. So there are a lot of different reasons why a customer will return an item. That means the item itself is perfectly fine. Now, You do have instances where customers will, or buyers will return items, as you guys know as being sellers. Buyers will return items because, you know, maybe they broke it, maybe something legitimately isn't working. Maybe there's an actual manufacturer's defect and something isn't working properly. Customer return liquidation pallets have about a 20 to 25% rate where those items just don't work. And these items are going to have problems. Now, the good news to that is your higher value items, even in non-working condition, will sell as parts or repair, or you can part out the items, meaning that, you know, you have a new coffee, like an espresso coffee maker, the water tanks sell, the capsule trays sell, the drip trays sell, and even the unit itself in non-working condition, after you've stripped everything away, can sell to someone who's looking to fix these units up. And you'll find that you're going to get a pretty good return. I sold a lot over the last couple weeks of just parts like that. You can go online to liquidation.com, B-Stock. I think there's like Blue Lots. There's maybe a dozen more that I haven't messed with because, you know, I have a local liquidator here, and I don't bother with having my stuff shipped to me. That's the only problem with buying online, is that you have to, in most cases, unless you're close to the facility like I am, you have to have the pallet shipped to you, which can add hundreds, if not $1,000 or so to the cost of your pallet. So it's something you definitely want to be careful of. Go online, do a Google search. Also go to Facebook Marketplace. You will find that you will have some liquidators possibly in your area, and maybe like Yelp or something like that, that'll look for local liquidators in your area. Now, once you come across a pallet that you might be willing to buy, you gotta know a few things about it. The first thing is it manifested or is it not manifested? And it's a huge difference. So let's say you're looking at that pallet online and you click on it and there's a manifest, and it should show you everything or most of the things that belongs in that pallet. Now, it doesn't tell you condition. When you deal with customer returns, you can get anything from brand new to just beat all to hell and anywhere in between. And your manifest is not going to tell you that. It's just going to tell you what the item is, maybe a UPC number, and you're going to get an MSRP. Now, as many of you guys know, we've talked about this in past videos, that MSRP doesn't mean a whole lot. You'll learn as you start buying from certain liquidators that manifests are way off, sometimes overly exaggerated. And if you find a few that you can trust, those numbers are going to be a little bit more realistic. And so that's part of the equation. You know, nothing I can tell you is going to help you find that liquidator that you can trust. That's going to come with your own experience. And when you do find that liquidator, those are the ones you kind of want to key on when you're buying new merchandise. The best way to check those manifests for accuracy on the MSRP, just go on to, if you're buying an Amazon pallet, go to Amazon.com, look up that item. If it's a Walmart pallet, Target pallet, and even if you're not sure where the pallet came from, you can usually go on Amazon.com and do a search that way and find the approximate value. I noticed that you have liquidators who will put the MSRP of the item when it first was released. Maybe it depreciated in value over the years. Maybe there are new models of whatever item you're looking up, but that MSRP hasn't changed. And there's other liquidators who give the actual updated MSRP value that's fairly recent and more accurate. And you know what this does is, this MSRP information, it helps you do your homework. And what I like to do, if you find an MSRP that's accurate, usually you're going to get back or be able to sell that item for about 50% of what the actual MSRP is. And that's in open box condition. Of course, something brand new sealed, you're going to get more than that. And something that's in used condition, it's going to be like maybe 30, 40%. So 50% is about right. That's why I use my 40-40 method, and I will put that somewhere above this sign here. And my 40/40 method gives you a quick way to calculate what you should be buying this pallet for based on the MSRP of the actual pallet. Now, the problem with manifested pallets, it sounds great to know what's in your pallet. The problem is everyone else sees that as well, and it gives them the same information that you have, and because of that, it usually jacks up the price of the pallet. If there's most pallets you have to go in and buy. You can't just say, unless you're going local to someone that you know locally that just has a flat rate on a pallet, most pallets you buy online are going to be in an auction style format. And if the manifest gives out all that information, just know there's other people out there that are savvy that are looking at the same information to determine how much they're willing to pay. Now, on the surface, that is a less riskier proposition than maybe buying a pallet that's not manifested, because a non-manifested pallet, you can get really anything in there. And it is more of a risk. And I would say non-manifested pallets, you definitely want to be buying from someone that you've bought from before and that you can somewhat trust to know you're not going to get just a bunch of garbage. You might see, you're only limited when you're dealing with a non-manifested pallet. You're limited to what you can see. In the past, I bought some B-stock pallets where you're only dealing with the third-party liquidators, not even a major company. And I bought one where it had a bunch of iPads, had a MacBook, and of course, underneath it had a lot of accessories, cases for cell phones and things like that. So I thought, wow, I can see 7 iPads and 1 MacBook just on the top of this big gaylord of a pallet. Makes me wonder, you know, there might be some other good stuff in there. And of course, I get the pallet and none of those items work. None of those top items work. And to top it off, those are the only ones in the pallet. So they dressed up their pallet in such a way to put all the good stuff on the top and really all the trash was on the inside and really not even sellable. And I lost money on that, but it's because I didn't know any better, which is why I'm sharing that with you. So start off with manifested pallets. That's the safer play. But as you get the experience, the non-manifested ones can get you a better deal because you're not paying as much. You're using your experience of what you see. And of course, you're not going to have a list of items that are in that pallet, but you can do your due diligence, do close-ups of the photos that you do see, or if you're locally buying your pallet, don't be afraid to pull out your phone and do some searching on Amazon and even eBay comps to see what kind of return you're going to be getting on these items. What you don't want to do is what I find and I see is a lazy way of buying pallets, and that's just looking at the pallet and just kind of in your mind trying to just guess what you're going to make without even looking up a single comp. I think that's a huge mistake. And so in my opinion, you have your manifested versus non-manifested. If you're new to this game, try to stick with the manifested first. Get a feel for liquidation. Get a feel for the type of items that you're buying that's going to sell. And then in the future, you can start seeing those same items pop up into your non-manifested pallets that will give you an advantage over your competition and give you usually a better bang for your buck when it comes to sourcing. So another thing also with manifested, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the items you see on that list. And I can tell you from experience, I bought from directliquidation.com. It was one of those things where I had a friend of mine who I wanted to introduce to reselling. He was looking for an extra source of income. And so he went in halves on me with this pallet. It had like 3 Xbox systems, and we're talking about the special edition ones that had games and controllers and all this. A couple PlayStations, a nice stereo receiver, and one other item that was like $300 in value. And, it was a pretty good looking lot. I think the MSRP was like $20,000 and we paid like, I think we got a really good deal, like $1,800 plus the cost of freight shipping. And when it got to us, opened it up, went through it, and the top 7 items in value were not even there, not there at all. And, you know, it was like, well, wait, what's going on here? This is not a coincidence. See, they usually tell you, a lot of these sites, that expect like a 3 to 5% inaccuracy on the manifest. But when the items just aren't there and they just happen to be the most expensive ones, then you know something's wrong and you've been ripped off. And so you go to that company and all they offer you is a couple $100 credit. That's no good at all. Things like that you have to be leery of, is that a lot of these companies, they don't have the best resolution model in place. And it's up to you as the consumer to do what you can to work with that company. And if you can't come to a fair conclusion or a fair resolution, then you will need to dispute the charges with your credit card company. Now, a lot of these places make you pay with wire transfer for that very reason. And some, like the one I mentioned, will give you a discount for using a wire transfer versus using a credit card. And the reason is they don't want to be having to fight a credit card chargeback no more than you want to fight a credit card chargeback on eBay when you're selling this stuff. But, you know, if you approach it honestly and give the merchant every chance to solve the problem, then I think in the end, you're gonna be good going that route. But you need to temper your expectations as a buyer though. Like I said, 25% of this stuff you're gonna buy is gonna be ready for the trash can. And it's not gonna be fit to resell. Maybe parting it out, parts of repair, not working type of thing. But you know, you're not gonna get this whole pallet of stuff of brand new working stuff. And if you do, you got lucky, and don't expect it the next time. That's kind of how you have to look at it. But you have to be comfortable with that idea, because a lot of this stuff is sight unseen. Even the stuff you can see, if you're buying it locally, you can't see inside that retail box of how that item looks if it was, you know, thrown down and smashed to pieces and then put back into the box. So you just have to be willing to accept that. And sometimes I think that's a little too much for some. That expectation of, wow, I'm going to get this new drone, you know, the DJI drone that looks like it's right on top of this pallet, and you get it, and you know, it's just the accessories, the drone's gone. You just need to temper your own expectations when going into this. Customer returns is a big part of this. So customers return things for many reasons, as I mentioned, but you have some dishonest customers as well who will have that item that they've been using for a year or two, and it just breaks. You know, maybe they misuse it, maybe something went wrong with it, and they buy a new one, and this dishonest buyer will then send the item back. And what thing I notice a lot is you'll get these great looking boxes, maybe this great looking item in your pallet. You pull it out, the box is in perfect condition, you open it, the accessories are still wrapped and sealed, and you're thinking, yeah, this is awesome. And then you look at the main item and it's like something totally different, or it doesn't work. And you know that's a swap out. And so when I say swap outs on this show, that's exactly what I mean. When a customer will simply dishonestly return their old item after getting that new one. And a lot of people are onto it that Amazon doesn't look at these returns. Neither does Walmart or any of these retailers, because they just don't have the manpower or the time to inspect every return they receive. And guess what? It's the buyer of this liquidation pallet that's the one that's stuck with this swap out. It sucks, I hate it, but it's also part of the game that you need to know before you go in and buying these pallets. There's the good times to buy pallets, and there's times that are really, you don't want to be stuck buying pallets. The reason why I'm making this video is because the beginning of the year, the first 4 months approximately, are the best time to buy liquidation because of all the Christmas returns that Amazon, Walmart, Target are getting. And supply and demand, you get more supply and you get better prices because of it. And of course, on the flip side of that coin, Q4 is the worst time to buy liquidation pallets because the demand of people wanting to take advantage of Christmas buyers outweighs the supply of limited returns, and therefore you're going to pay more for liquidation during the Q4 season. So these are things that you need to be aware of. And I've made liquidation videos in the past. Check out my channel if you want more like tips and other information. But hopefully this will help you if you're sort of on the fence of buying liquidation, or maybe you've bought before and you were turned off. Maybe this will give you a little bit better expectation of what you're going to get versus what you were hoping to get. And you can hit a lot of home runs buying liquidation pallets, but you can be left with a lot of trash as well. And you just have to be okay with it and learn to navigate through it to make money. You can definitely make money in liquidation. Certainly it's what I do. It's how I support what I need to pay all my bills and still be able to do the things that I want to do. And it just works, but you have to know what you're looking for. You cannot just buy any random pallet and expect that to work for you unless you're getting one heck of a deal on that. So, you know, in this business, it's how you source that will determine how you do in the long run. And a lot of people have disputed that, but I got to tell you, if I source something through liquidation at 10% retail and my neighbor who's competing against me buys that same pallet for 20% of retail, I've got a lot more room to be flexible with my prices to get that item sold and move, which is the main part of the game we play on eBay. So what do you guys think? Please leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think about this awesome sign for the channel. Of course, it won't be in every video, but I just thought it'd be a nice little touch, add a little bit something to the channel, a little personality to Flippin' Ain't Easy. And while you're at it, while you're commenting, do me a favor, just hit that like button. It takes you a couple seconds to do, and it helps the channel. I would certainly appreciate each and every one of you to hit that subscribe button because I'm trying to get to 10K. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm going to give away some eBay stuff once that happens. And of course, hit that notification bell so you can be notified when I make a video or go live. If you enjoy this kind of content and want to be notified when that happens, hit that bell so that you're notified. So guys, I don't care how you source, whether it's a yard sale, whether it's a thrift store, or whether you use liquidation like I do, just know that buying liquidation is just another example of how flipping ain't easy. One more thing before I go. Be sure to tune into the Crazy New York Driver YouTube channel tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. That's tomorrow, New Year's Eve, Friday. And be sure to watch the live stream that it's a special that Joe's putting on. And I will probably, if you tune in, I'll probably see you there as well. But if I don't, I want you guys to have an excellent new year. And, you know, don't make resolutions. Do not make resolutions. Don't fall into that trap. Set goals, realistic goals for yourself that you plan on achieving. I'm going to do the same thing. So guys, it was a pleasure talking to you in 2021. And here's to an excellent sales year in 2022.